The New Jersey Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted with the Star Ledger and the Express Times and submitted to the town clerk of the town of Belvidere on April 3rd, 2023. The meeting will be live streamed at www.belvideresd.org. Flag salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The mission of the Belvidere School District is to celebrate our past and empower our future while focusing on the four cornerstones of our district: tradition, excellence, academics, and community. We strive to build confidence and promote collaboration. We encourage an equal partnership with our students and staff as well as its community members. We empower everyone to develop the best version of themselves. The Belvidere School District is committed to shaping students into global citizens who take initiatives for their success and contribute to the continued excellence of the district. Our students are leaders in the decision-making process and their education and will be prepared to excel in a 21st century society. Roll call.
Mr. Ackerman?
Here.
Mr. Blum? Dr. Zuppeth?
Here.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Here.
Mrs. Gardella?
Here.
Mrs. Kennedy?
Here.
Mr. McElroy? Mr. Scott?
Here.
Mrs. Steffen?
Here.
Mr. Ty?
Here.
Mrs. Weidlich?
Here. Okay, so we'll open with the budget discussion.
Just had a few things I wanted to mention before we kind of open it up to the board. Number one, I think most of the board should know that we've been talking about a bill that was run through the Assembly and then the Senate prior to our last, or right around our last meeting, that was approved and was signed by the governor, which puts an additional $92,227 in our budget line. In my interpretation, and what would be my recommendation of the way that bill was written, it is, the idea is they passed it with the idea that we would be bringing at least one or two staff members back. I think that was the push. It's also just interesting to note that we talked at the last meeting and put a lot of information out there about the Belvidere, where we were as far as getting the budget together. Obviously, this bill shows that it wasn't just a Belvidere issue when it came to financial issues. Obviously, it was almost statewide. A couple of local districts, too. There's a big article about Vernon after our article where they were cutting close to, I think it was 80 staff members, too, because of their gap that they faced as well. So this was a good step. I mean, obviously, we would have loved to have seen more than 92,000, but the recommendation for by the administration will be to bring back at least one staff member, as long as the board is okay with that, and I think that's something that we can discuss further. Once the board is on board with that, then we will then discuss further. We have discussed already, but solidify who that person would be and speak with that person and speak with the association with that. This morning I was able to talk to someone, when I don't want to give out too many names, finally got somewhere with the regionalization conversation. Actually, very positive conversation. We look like we should be getting our approval within the next 3 to 4 weeks about the study. The person explained to me the process. We can do one of three things. Number one is we can go out for bid, because it should be probably about a $150,000 study. Again, the state is paying for the study. Or we can, number two, we can go out for bid. We can, number two, do a request for proposal. Or three, which is the best option, is we can just choose a group to do the study as long as they're associated with a university or a college. And then you can just sign off on that. The reason behind that is because the group that pushed the bill, Mark Magyar, that some of us met with, works with Rowan, and Rowan actually has a group that's going to be putting out there to do the studies. So hopefully by the second May meeting, we'll have all that information together, and if all goes well, maybe we'll get the regionalization study finally started by July 1st. Seems to be a pretty good target date. So I thought that was very good news. I don't know if Mayor Myers is here. If she's not, oh, she's walking in right now. Kathy had asked at the last meeting, how many current students are not at Belvidere that would have attended Belvidere? 9 to 12, and that number is actually 65. There are 55 students at Tech from the cluster districts and 10 students that are elsewhere, whether it's a private school or I think there's 1 or 2 that are at Phillipsburg. And right now, the biggest class is there are 19 seniors that are not here at Belvidere that could have come to Belvidere. And I think it's 17 of them are at Tech. And then the last thing I just want to mention, because it was brought up about academic rigor at the last meeting, was my evaluation portal is open, so I'll put that together so everything can be done at the second May meeting. And then I will also do a review of the goals at that point, but obviously academic achievement was one of our big goals. And then if there's any questions about the handouts that were, the infographics that were sent out, now would be a good time to discuss.
Can you just explain how many full-time administrators we have, how many part-time administrators? Again, I know it was in the infographic, but just one more time, just so we can hear again how those salaries are shared between other districts that aren't Belvidere.
Sure. So currently, right now, we have 3 full-time administrators in the district if you count Mr. Bartow, who is actually half-time vice principal and half-time athletic director, but he's a full-time Belvidere employee. Mr. Karabinas and Dr. McKinney are the other 2. I am 60% Belvidere, 40% billed to Harmony. Ms. Chama is the same, and Ms. Spaghelli at the child study team is actually only billed at 0.25% here for Belvidere, and then the rest of the cluster picks up the other 75%. So it actually amounts to 4.45 full-time employees that are administrators. Our first meeting, the first meeting was either, well, I'll repeat it for you. I'll repeat it for you. Our first meeting was either, and Marianne, you can probably help me out, this was either right before COVID or right when COVID started. It's been almost 3 years. Right.
Right when COVID started, because they were Zoom, our first meeting was a Zoom meeting because we couldn't meet in public.
Correct. Right. So it's been 3 years just to get to the point of getting the approval for the study. So hopefully, and it sounds like now the state is a little more motivated because of some of the financial issues that our districts are facing, that they may be looking to, I don't want to say fast track it because it's going to take time to do the study. Best guesstimates on a study are about 12 months to 18 months, depending on how in-depth the study goes.
And I think that's important to note because this board has had a responsibility and we as a board have been pushing for this. It's not just like we have been sitting here not doing anything regarding that. And something like that, I know with Hope, we're open to it. And from the beginning, even when we started, all the districts were on board with this. So I think that's important to make that known.
Right. It's also, I think, just to piggyback on that, Mr. Ty, Great Meadows was brought up at the last meeting. Great Meadows will be part of that regionalization study.
Good.
Any other questions?
I noticed, again, that everyone, am I on? I'm on. So the population of students has been dropping for many years. Has there been a balance with how many students the state has been losing, keeping a balance with how many teachers that we might have had to lay off just to keep the ratio within the budget? Has that been something that we saw coming down for the last 10 years, or is it something that we just hit this breaking point this year?
Probably the answer is it's a little bit of both. I think we have slowly reduced some staff members, maybe not on a couple years that we probably could have reduced maybe 1 or 2 more to fit within the budget, but the budget was healthy enough where we could do that. So I think this year, when we were completing the budget last year, when we got that cut from the state aid that we were not expecting, we knew that there would probably be a little bit more of a breaking point this year.
You could go back on the Department of Education, and it gives you the student-teacher ratio. I think in 22 years ago, it was 25-1 students to teachers, and now it's 10-1. So our class size has shrunk dramatically over the last 20, 25 years.
Just to keep in mind too with that, that also includes special ed, and we do have a
Correct.
few special ed classrooms that are 2s and 3s, so that does bring that number down a bit. You know, I think if you're looking for general population, you know, general education, I think you're probably looking more at a 17 or an 18 right now, and probably not going to go up much more than that with the proposed cuts.
Go back to the regionalization.
Mhm.
Do you know if, I kind of remember just in the back of my mind that there was some sort of a, I don't want to say kickback but more or less incentive.
Yes.
Are those monies still on the table for each of the districts?
As far as I know, but because it's been so long since the bill was passed, I'm assuming yes, but I can't be sure on that. It's a question I can find out.
Yeah.
So the idea was, and it's a good question, the idea was that any district that participated in the study would get back half of what they lost or that this upcoming year in state aid. So for us, well, now the number is going to be skewed because we're getting 67% of it back. But if it was the original 140, we would have got 70,000 of that back by participating in the study. So I don't know what they're going to use for a number at this point, because between the 4 districts, all of us got money back with that bill. Although Harmony was negligible, it was less than $1,000. But for the other districts, you know, they did get money back. So that may skew that number a bit.
So I have a question. I just want to verify and confirm that the district is not currently in a debt for this school year.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. And the 1.2 is all for the shortfall for the budget planning for the coming year.
Correct.
Nothing having to do with being short this year.
Correct.
Correct? Okay.
Correct.
Any other questions?
You have to wait for public participation. This is for the board only.
Can you, one more time, Shelley, because I know some people weren't here, when you broke it down for us 2 meetings ago, where it all adds up to the 1.2, the incoming, and what our added expenses are? You did a great job with that last time, and I think that would be helpful.
So when we start putting the budget together, the first thing we do is see what revenues we're going to have, what will exist for that next year. One of the biggest things that we have to look at is our tuition that we're going to get in from the sending districts, because that's really, it's one of the highest percentages of our revenue sources. And that number that we establish for the upcoming year is trued up to the actual every 2 years. So we can create a number for this year, and whether it's high or low, in 2 years from now, we will actually true up that amount and either pay the descending districts back, or they will have to pay us based on whatever the actual expense was for the number of students that attended. The other piece to the revenue tuition issue is how many students are actually going to attend next year. And each school district that sends here gives us their best estimate, technically by December 15th of the previous year, to let us know, here's how many kids we think we're going to send to you. And that's the number that they pay on. The number of students that actually attend every year is going to be different. So the first thing we establish is what we think the tuition should be for the upcoming year. And then we have to look at what the actual was for the current year and then true up to that amount for the previous expenses, and also how many kids actually attended. So we have a true up and a tuition amount. So coming into 23-24, we knew that we had 17 less kids projected coming from the sending districts as well as from Belvidere. So that's about $136,000. We also knew that our tuition adjustment, so some years we get money back, some years we pay money out. It fluctuated in that we were going to have to pay in Belvidere $207,000 more out this coming for 23-24 than we had in the previous year. So that was an additional reduction in our revenue that we were going to expect. We also get revenue for students that come to Belvidere for special education. So in self-contained classes, we have an MD class, BD or ERI classes, and we knew that we were going to have 4 less students anticipated for 23-24 than we have now. So that's another $108,000. We knew that the state aid was being cut going into 23-24 when we first started the budget process, which was $139,000+. And then we knew that one way that we try to stabilize our budget each year is to use what we call a maintenance reserve to fund our maintenance staff and our maintenance projects. That's one place that we are allowed to accumulate funds year over year. And with the money that we had left in maintenance reserve, we knew that, I think last year we put in, I'd have to just double check. Let me just look quick because I want to get this right. Last year we used $425,000 from maintenance reserve to fund this current 22-23 budget. We this year know that we're having a tighter budget year. We're not going to have a lot of money left over to put into the maintenance reserve, so we don't have $425,000 to put into 23-24. We only have $225,000. So that was another $200,000 that we weren't going to have as a revenue source. So when you add up our revenue items, that's almost $800,000 that we're going to start out with that was less than what we would have this year, if that makes sense, because we'll have less kids, we have a tuition adjustment to pay back for over a 2-year true-up, we don't have as much money in our maintenance reserve that we can use as much as we had in last year, and then we're having our state aid cut more. So from that, we know we're starting out with almost $800,000. We don't have any other revenue sources to get that from. And then we look at what's on our expense side. We already have a settled contract this is the 23-24 will be the last year of our 3-year contract with our Teachers Association. And in that contract, it's a 3.2% salary increase. So a 3.2% salary increase is about $300,000. So our expenses from the current 22-23 year are going to go up 3.2% in salaries. We also have our benefits projected to go up 10% because benefit costs for health insurance and dental all go up as well. So that's another $200,000. And then we know this year that our transportation costs, ever since COVID, have really been quite high, higher increases than we had ever had in the past. So that's about another $50,000. So you have $800,000 we were short in revenue, and then an additional $550,000 where our expenses were going to go up pretty much no matter what. That equates to about $1.3 million that when you're trying to now say, okay, we need our revenues and our expenses to balance. That's the gap that we're talking about on the sheet here. So the only way that a school district can save money, we don't get like a regular savings account like we do for our own personal selves, that we can say, okay, we know that years upcoming are going to be harder, we should really save more. We're only allowed to save $250,000. So in a $12 million budget, only $250,000 you can set aside. And if you have more than that, it immediately goes back to your taxpayers. So we have the $250,000 that we're allowed to save. We have some money in our capital reserve. We actually had close to $600,000 in capital reserve. But we were lucky enough to get almost a $900,000 grant through New Jersey Clean Energies to do a bunch of HVAC upgrades that we need to do in the building, which were actually they were definitely in our top 10 items that needed to be completed on our last facility study. So it was a very timely grant. But to get the $900,000 grant, we had to spend $330,000 from our capital reserve to fund our portion. So we withdrew that in this current school year, the 22-23 year, to fund those projects. So capital reserve still has some money, which we could use for some of the capital projects that we've actually kept out of the 23-24 budget because we knew it was already tight. We figured we'll leave it in capital reserve, and if something happens and we need to do those projects, that's where we would draw down from. And in maintenance reserve, we'll do our best at the end of the 22-23 school year to fund more into that reserve. But we also, over the last, I'm going to say, 15 years at least, at the end of each school budget year, any money that's left, you can put some of that and push it to the next budget year, and that's called your budgeted fund balance. So we take $300,000 for the last 15-plus years of whatever's we don't spend in a current budget year, and we push that to the next year's school budget. So we are already anticipating that $300,000 that we might have in breakage from the 22-23 budget needs to be pushed forward to the 23-24 budget. That's one of our revenue sources. Any additional amount over that $300,000 we will put into the maintenance reserve to hopefully help the next year, the 24-25 budget, will also need to have some money balanced. So we didn't want to withdraw that down to zero, because then you know you're not planning well for 24-25. So we split the difference there. That's really in a nutshell what we have to look at when we do a budget any year. You know, we look at our costs that we have to have with salaries and benefits, and we look at the tuition we get in from, as our revenue source from the other school districts. And that gap is where we always start. And there's plenty of years that gap starts at $500,000 or more. This particular year, the way everything fell together, you know, it was 1.2 million. And that's where we started building the budget back in December.
Thank you, Shelley. My only question that I know some people have also is the transportation that we spend here is mostly for like sports or extracurricular activities
Because
or
Belvidere's
trips?
a 1 square mile, we don't transport students at all to and from school, but we do transport for field trips and mostly just for athletics. We do bid that each summer, or at least we have the last few years, as opposed to renewing. And the costs have basically doubled, if not more in some circumstances.
Thank you. Any other questions?
How much do we spend for that transportation, approximately?
You said about 50,000.
That was what I was anticipating as the
Projected, right?
increase.
Projected, yeah.
Right, so I'm forecasting that we're going to spend around $140,000 in 22-23, and we budgeted roughly the same amount for 23-24, knowing that we just made some cuts in what transportation services we would provide, so we could keep that amount flat.
Well, I would like to see us sharpen our pencils on that. For one reason, you know, we're transporting students 40 to 70 miles one way. Why can't they play locally? Save us some money.
The conference.
I think it's the conference we're in order, the state has set us up with these other schools. I'm sure that, where's the AD? Is Brad here? Yeah. The state basically sets your schedule and you play these schools that, I agree with you. I'd rather play Warren Hills or Hackettstown or something like that, but they're not available anymore.
Well, can't we change conferences?
We can, it's not an easy process.
We
unfortunately.
can? Well, let's start on it. Save some money, save some time.
I know that North Warren is in a conference that's mainly in Sussex County. I don't know
Okay.
how much money that would save us joining that, but
Better than being in Monmouth County or wherever we are.
I'm not even sure where we can go. And I've been
Mostly
there.
mostly in Hunterdon and sometimes out to Middlesex. I agree with you, Mr. Blum. I'd love to change conferences.
So it's, you never want to get rid of staff. You never want to be a teacher who has to be rifted. If I'm not happy with the tenure system that ties our hands sometimes, is that something I talk to you about, or who do I go to complain about the tenure issue and how it does have districts getting rid of certain teachers that they want to keep?
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly above us as a board. I mean, it's in statute and it's in law. So it would need, you know, starting with the Department of Ed, you need to go there. I would imagine that the associations would not be willing to give up those tenure rights. And I don't not just the NJEA, but also the Superintendent's Association, also the Principals Association. They wouldn't be too keen on driving that out, but it's all in code right now, and it's all be done through the legislation.
Any other questions? Oh, okay. All right, so can I get a motion to go in executive session for personnel and the 23-24 budget discussion?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will be made public as soon as practicable. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session at the conclusion of the closed session in approximately 20 minutes?
20 minutes.
20 minutes? Okay, so now we're going to move on to personnel items. The one. I need a motion. And roll call.
Mr. Ackerman,
Yes.
Mr. Blum,
Yes.
Dr. Zuppeth,
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth,
Yes.
Mrs. Gardella,
Yes.
Mrs. Kennedy. Mr. Scott,
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen,
Yes.
Mr. Ty,
Yes.
Mrs. Weidlich.
Abstain.
Okay, now we're moving on to continuing business.
Oh, hang on. I have an update on the Education Foundation. The last meeting was, excuse me, was April 4th. And at that meeting, they did elect a 4-member board and 2 people that they're calling directors. So they do have a full board in place. They have a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and 2 directors. So it was a really productive meeting. I listened, but I think they have a strong, really strong members who are really looking to push this forward. The next meeting will be May 9th at 6:30 at the community center. So if you want to get involved, on their docket for the next meeting will be starting to think about fundraising and then about setting bylaws so that they can keep moving forward with that. So this is the most forward push we've had from the board. I mean, we have been trying to do this for a long time from the board side, and now finally have some momentum with people. Some of them are not alumni but have children currently here in the school, and others are alumni who are just coming back because they really want to see things continue at Belvidere the way they've been in the past. So it's very, very positive. So I'll keep everybody updated.
Any other continuing business? Nope. Well, I have one for last time we were here. We enjoyed the Matilda Jr. Show, and I got to see it. I hope others did too. It was fabulous. Congratulations to all the students. Thanks to all the staff and parents that helped put it together. Thanks to the directors for their hard work and the hours. Nice to see many staff members coming out to watch and to help with it. Multiple high school students stepped up to help out with it. Even some alumni were involved. And I think that says a lot about our school community, that we have so many people participating in that, and they did an awesome job. Anything else? Okay, moving on to new business. First, we want to talk about setting up our 5-year plan. I think the whole board's on board with that pretty much. Anybody not on board with that? Okay, so I guess our first thing would be looking at setting up meeting with the other schools to try and get a feel with everybody to
Yeah.
see where we want to go from there.
My thought was we do it similar to how we started regionalization. 2 people from each district and then sending districts. I think it was the president and vice president. You were on that, I think, weren't you? Yeah. Vice president, president, and
Or
administrative.
a representative.
Or
if-
representative if they
right?
don't want to attend. But so
Okay.
at least two people from each district, the superintendents, and then we'll just do probably a Zoom call because it's easier at this point in time. And get everybody's input on where they want to see us go and what direction they want us to take.
Yeah, Mr. Thompson, myself, Mr. Newman have already started throwing some dates around. We thought it'd be best if we just got through each district's budget presentations and approvals. So probably starting somewhere around the second week of May. We'll look for some dates that are common. I know once we get into that stretch from about, May 5th to about May 20th, there's a lot of, whether it's concerts and things like that are going on. So we'll try to find out what works for everybody, especially we know who's going to be part of that ad hoc committee.
Okay.
And again, I think that would just, my opinion was that would just be the start, because the ad hoc committee should contain community members and should contain staff, that kind of thing. So this would be just the group to get it, to lay the groundwork for what we think we want going forward, and then we'll put the actual committee together.
And then if that group met like quarterly,
Something like that, just to keep
and
track.
then each district could have their own ad hoc committee to bring to the table what they're thinking for the 5-year plan. I think we need to get from each district numbers, student numbers projected from 3rd grade up that's looking for those school years. So that way we have an idea of, are we facing lower numbers, higher numbers? Are we staying status quo? That kind of thing.
The other thing to mention too, because it ties into the regionalization study, will take a good look at the demographics and probably will provide a lot of that information, these projections of what it would look like for about maybe 10 to 12-year window. So that'd be good.
Anything anybody wants to add about that? Okay, another new business is we need to look at everybody who can participate in the superintendent evaluations. That'll be coming soon. They're due to the state sometime in June. So you have your part of it, I understand, and are working on it.
Yes.
So when can you have that in by? Can you give us is that something for the end of May
I should have it completed somewhere around the 15th of May.
15th?
And then that way it could be discussed at the May 31st. The May 31st meeting, you can discuss it and then approve it at the June 30th meeting.
Well, you have to get yours done, then we have to get ours done.
Yeah, because we have to,
Right. So, all right, so
Can you jump up a week?
I can jump up a week. I'll have it to everybody by, I'll say May 8th.
May 8th. Because we have to meet with you prior to that, right?
No, you meet with
No.
me after.
Yeah.
After. So I'll submit it, the board will get a chance to look at it, do their evaluation. Then if all went according to the normal procession, then on the 31st, you would go into executive session to come up with it. And then we would meet and then you would approve it at the end of June.
Okay. Anybody else have continuing or new business? I'm sorry.
Mention about. Just wanted to mention that when we come out of executive, that the board will support the administration's decision to take the 92,000 and at least hire one of the teachers back. And we will discuss that as an administrative team, and we will meet with the association this week.
Okay, that finishes new business? Okay, so we will open for public participation. It's limited to 5 minutes per person with a 30-minute time limit. Obviously, we will work with that as much as we can. Board members, you are not allowed to interact with the questions. Okay? Any questions? Okay.
Hi, my name is Skylar Young. I'm a junior at BHS. The mission of the Belvidere School District is to celebrate our past and empower our future while focusing on the four cornerstones of our district: tradition, excellence, academics, and community. We strive to build confidence and promote collaboration. We encourage an equal partnership with our students and staff, as well as its community members. We empower everyone to develop the best version of themselves. The Belvidere School District is committed to shaping students into global citizens who take initiative for their success and contribute to the continued excellence of the district. Our students are leaders in the decision-making process of their education and will be prepared to excel in the 21st century society. This is the mission statement of Belvidere High School. This is what I would like to focus on rather than the cornerstones that have been touched on by many others. I would like to focus on the particular aspect of the mission statement that is clearly not followed or felt by the student body. Students' voices are not heard. Sure, the board and some of the staff members have listened to us, but we're not heard. The frustration amongst the students is still alive and well about these budget cuts. I would like to have change in this building just as much as every other person within the Belvidere High School community would. If you encourage us to take initiative, consider it done. The board has a large disconnect from real things, what student life is actually like inside of the building. I bet that most of you have just heard of the disrespect that is plaguing your student body. Something's got to give. Something has to change. How is there so much disconnect between the students, admin, and board? Our superintendent is present at all of the board meetings, yet no one sees them inside of the building to report the issues they're having. There must be open communication, which is why I have a proposition for the board. I would like to add a program to the school called the Advocacy Program. We need a school that is able to have open communication between their staff and students, which is what this program would be doing. I propose for a board member and administrator to sit in on a bi-weekly to monthly roundtable meeting. This committee of people would be composed of 2 students, an administrator, a board member, and a student-teacher liaison. This person would be a staff member that will be continuing into next year. Students would have the ability to go to the student-teacher liaison and report the issues that they had in the building. These issues would then be presented to the committee to see what they can and cannot do about the situation at hand. Students' names would not be revealed unless necessary. Going back to the mission statement of the school, we empower students to be the best version of themselves. How? By taking away everything that gives this school life. How are these young adults meant to be the best versions of themselves? You want students to contribute to the continued excellence of the district? Once again, how? How are students contributing to something that has nothing left to offer them? Lastly, regarding the mission statement of the school, the Belvidere School District is committing to shaping students into global citizens. Our students are leaders in the decision-making process of their education and will be prepared to excel in the 21st century society. From what has been shown to me, in order for anyone to be heard, students must yell, scream, and kick. The board has never listened or cared about student well-being. All that you have cared about is our testing numbers and the money that you get from each and every child that walks through the doors of this building. The very mission statement of this school tells kids that they get a choice as to what happens with their education. These decisions are meant to be collaborative, and yet they aren't. We've all heard the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Our system is broken. Why are we not fixing it? Our school perpetuates a cycle of broken systems. You guys stick band-aids on real issues that need fixing. Teachers must be held accountable for their speech within a classroom and when they are in front of the student body. Being openly against the GSA is not a good look for your staff. We preach acceptance and accountability, but where is the follow-through? Not only this, but teachers make kids targets. Kids are disrespected and made fun of consistently, and yet nothing is done. The clear lack of action being taken goes past disrespectful teachers. Our school has a vaping and smoking issue. Where is the follow-through to fix the issue? You've heard me speak on the topic before, and yet nothing has changed. The system is broken. We pay people to sit in front of our bathrooms, but kids are still smoking. So why waste the money to pay people to sit there? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? But it is broken. Why are we not fixing it? Our money is consistently mismanaged. During a time of crisis, we're spending our money on vending machines, and ones that only turn on at the end of the day. How are these decisions for the betterment of the students? Your decisions don't help the students. We have masses of non-instructional staff and money being thrown around left and right. You've heard a lot of your students speak on the disrespect that they feel here and the hatred that lingers in this school's halls. Never once have any of the teachers you're cutting ever made a child feel singled out or judged. They have welcomed every student with open arms and open minds. As a school district, we have enabled this hateful behavior by simply not taking action, which seems to be a common theme here. Belvidere is a see something and say nothing kind of district. Kids have reported their struggle, and not much is done about it, unfortunately. And ultimately, kids were fine with it because they knew they had someone to confide in. They knew that they could go down and see Conti and listen to some music, and everything would start to feel better. They knew they could head up to Gatons and they would feel safe and respected. They knew they could head over to Hoyt's and he would say something funny and they would cheer up right away. Without these people, your students will be miserable because they won't have an outlet anymore. All of the leaders of the programs you're cutting and have developed and grown with every change that has been thrown at them and every single challenge that has come their way, whether that be a student or even a fellow coworker. If these staff members do not continue here, it is my belief that the growth of this school district's staff and students will be stunted. If Belvidere truly cared about their mission statement, they would choose to live the words they preach. These words would not just be empty promises, they would choose to live and embody every word they preach, and truly allow students to be leaders in their education process, truly preparing them to be citizens of the world. We ask you to fix the systems that are broken in this building and to actually do something to benefit the student body, not just make decisions that look good on paper. Thank you.
Hey everyone, it's Robbie Moore. I'm not here to give a grand speech or anything, I already did that. I just came up here to point out the one comment made about the sports conference change. To put it bluntly, that was a very ignorant comment. As an athlete myself, the way conferences work, we play against schools that are similar in size to us, similar in ability to us. If you want, we can play against Peaburg every game and lose 10-0. I'm sure you'd love to see that. Even if you don't care, even though we're not exactly renowned for athletics here, we do send a select few students to states every year. We do have some teams that are close and come close to winning some championships, so I just don't see why we would want to take that away from a community that already has very little to give to their students. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ryan Holcomb, a citizen in Belvidere. I just would like to ask a question, if you could provide any insight into how did you evaluate different options when you're looking at where to make cuts between Belvidere Elementary and Belvidere High School and looking at different options for programs? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Max Serrata Shapiro. I'm a senior here at Belvidere High School. I spoke at the last meeting. Welcome to Belvidere High School. Here you're going to have the best years of your life. That's what they told us during orientation day. The best years of your life. Our life. My life. This building, where 4 of the most formative years of mine and countless others' lives have been spent, where we were told we would be making memories that would last a lifetime. Why do we have to fight for its well-being? There is a gaping disparity between us, the students and our school board. We live in 2 completely separate worlds. It is different in both climates, to say the least, or it's difficult in both climates, to say the least. We have that in common. However, what feels like calamity for us may seem to you like a vast overreaction. But keep in mind that this is our life. This is the future of my friends and family. That is why we fight, although I am frustrated that we have to be in this situation in the first place, as I'm sure you are as well. However, we are irked and we have questions, and it is your job to hear and answer them, so here we are. You talk about how Urinetown did so well, how the music, the acting, the band was incredible. We're losing our teacher who teaches us our music, how to sing, how to do the harmonies, who has connections to find and hire the band. We in the drama club are happy that you liked our show, but how many of you actually came out to support it? How many of you come out to support any of our school events, whether it be choir, band, drama club, or sports? You helped to run our community. When was the last time you directly took part in it? You talk about how there are no programs being cut, that we're actually increasing our offers as opposed to decreasing. How will teachers who already have full schedules make the time to teach electives while they're also covering for their previously cut coworkers? How will we keep electives when the teachers who are being moved to run them are already actively speaking about how they don't want to be in charge of that class and that they're going to work on cutting it anyways? How are we adding new classes without overworking the people who are already staying? You show us graphs dating back to 1999 that show how every sending district has a 40% decline in student enrollment. You tell us how another graph, one you always preach about, shows the births in New Jersey having gone down 21%. You tell us that they show the growing number of non-existent kids to attend our alma mater, but then what? You tell us that it's not that we're losing students necessarily, they're just not here to be had, but then what? This decline isn't new, it's been happening for over 23 years. $1.2 million isn't something that vanishes into thin air overnight. How do we not see this coming or prepare for it? It's about to get worse too, because even though you may think that we're not losing students to other districts, maybe one or two, but the majority of them aren't going anywhere, that we just don't have kids in the district. Think about how many people are running for Warren Hills, for Tech, for Phillipsburg, now that their school no longer feels like home to them, without their teachers in the classes that they want. Especially that it's now out there that there are 65 less kids than we could have had in a school of 300-something children. Why have there been no steps to accommodate before we find ourselves in this rut? Since we've certainly had the time and statistics to show us that this was a problem. Information is useless without action. We want to help. We can't raise the number of children in the state or earn the school more funding, but we can give you insight on what life is like for us. Yes, there are genuinely less children being born, but that means we have to be more competitive when we're compared to other schools, not just sit idly by and watch the number of people slowly trickle downwards. We can work together to find out what can attract more people to Belvidere High School, actually show what we're about, our traditions, our excellence, academics, and most importantly, our community. We are here and we want to help. However, that means that you have to listen to us when we speak. It is incredibly frustrating to try and act like adults, to spend our free time here speaking our mind and fighting for change when we should really just be out there enjoying being kids. It's hard to be an adult when only a handful of the people we're talking to look invested. We're well aware that this is a difficult topic. All of us live stressful lives outside of this meeting. But it is your job not just to hear us out, but to listen to what we're saying. Respect goes both ways. We want to speak without seeing our audience, which consists of people we're supposed to look up to, make a show of how they are too busy checking the time, yawning, scoffing, huffing, laughing, rolling their eyes, or dissociating like they did last time. It's upsetting that we have to see this from adults while we're talking about our passions, our teachers, our clubs, such as, but not limited to, our GSA, our friends, our life. We want to talk to you. If we wanted to talk to a wall, we could have done that at home. This is difficult for everybody. These budget cuts are destroying us. We're throwing away our electives, our teachers, our club advisors, our safe spaces. School isn't about learning anymore. It isn't about making friends, socialization, or having the best years of your life. Suddenly it's an institution built for nothing more than passing, getting good grades, standardized testing, and seeing how much money we can help rake in only to watch it be carelessly spent and completely mishandled. See, for those of you who are interested in Urinetown, our show, the funny part about its story is that although it's ridiculous, it's a satirical show that is based heavily in reality. The issue is that one group of people only thought of today while the other only thought about tomorrow. What we need is something in between, a plan that can be effective not only presently but in the future. It's a difficult topic, but as my character was informed, no one likes to be told that their way of life is unsustainable. However, sometimes people need to be told the truth directly in order to see it. Moving forward, we need sustainable solutions. Not quick ones made out of the consequences from not doing anything about the slow but steady decline of students that's been happening for years. And it's difficult. Difficult. I have been using that word a lot because I'm trying to understand your perspective. And I know that you have to sit here for hours, listening to person after person. I know that despite this meeting being scheduled at the very last second, there are still a handful of people to give you a piece of their mind, and that this media center is the last place that you want to be. But as I have said, we are living in the same climate. It is difficult for both of us. However, we can make both of our lives easier if we work together, if there is communication, if we speak and give others the time and attention to speak too, if we listen and give others the space to be heard. We need proper communication and cooperation, and you need to be willing to partake in that. It is difficult, but we can work together, so long as you're willing. Thank you.
Good evening, Kathy Myers from Belvidere. As I said before, budgets are not a simple process, but I do agree with Mr. Blum that perhaps it's time to sharpen the pencil and maybe think out of the box a little bit. Third Street still stands there virtually empty. The bus transportation for extracurricular. Other districts do it differently. Reach out to your neighboring districts to see how they are managing it. Perhaps incentivize retirement. It has been done in the past. It can be configured. There are things that can cut that revenue gap a little bit. And I think we need to all think outside that box for the benefit of the student body. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andrew Durr. I want to say a few comments of my own before I get on to another postgraduate that sent in words to be said. I think that the majority of my friends, especially in the AP honors classes, are considering going into a different district. For instance, Warren Hills, I know they have a lot of their business electives. They are accredited with Warren County Community College, and they do offer more AP classes. My question to the board that I know you guys cannot answer at this moment is, with these new courses that we're talking about adding, will they be accredited in any way? And the courses that we do have currently, will they also be accredited? I know that's a difficult process to do, but that's something I would like the board to look into. And then this is a letter from a recent graduate. Hi everyone, my name is Kylie Winters. I'm a postgraduate from the class of 2017. Unfortunately, I cannot be here in person to read you this. However, I have the utmost faith that whoever is reading or listening to this will hear me. I have a question. Why are you trying to cut teachers who truly make a difference in Belvidere High School? In my opinion, the most respected teacher at Belvidere High School is Mrs. Gayton. And yes, I may not have been in high school for years, but I know without a doubt Gayton still holds that title. As most of you know, or may not know, Mrs. Gayton is truly one of a kind. She was my gym teacher for 3 years, taught me in health class, and encouraged/picked me to join the Green Duck Club. And most of you don't know this, but she changed my life entirely throughout my years of being at Belvidere High School. It would be a disservice for the board to cut her. It would be a true tragedy. I know I've been out of high school for many years now, but I know for a fact she has impacted every single student she has come in contact with. She is the most endearing and helpful and caring person. She is one of a kind and does not deserve to be cut from Belvidere High School. To the board, please consider what you're doing, and please consider the students' futures and not your own. It would be so selfish of you guys to cut teachers before you cut an administrator. Think long and think hard about what you're thinking about doing. Think of the kids, the education, and think of Miss Gayton and all of the other teachers you are cutting. Gayton is one of Belvidere's best educators. Don't make a foolish mistake and cut her. Those students need her like I need her in high school. Sincerely, Kyle Winter, class of 2017. Thank you.
I have more.
Do one time. You're allowed one.
I'm speaking on behalf of somebody
Why
else.
don't you just let some of the other folks that wanted to come up first, Skylar?
Is anyone able to? Kylie? Or Kaylee, sorry.
Hello, my name is Kaylee O'Neill, a freshman in Belvidere High School from the Harmony Sunday District. Even though it's only been a year, there's already so much to say about these teachers. They have helped motivate, calmed, and even helped me, enlighten me this year. For example, Mr. Conti really helped me open up and feel more comfortable in drama, in the school in general, and with myself. I'm so glad that I got to meet and work with the people I did this year. Meeting all the upperclassmen that have helped me through this year and getting through tough classes and helping me with homework. I've never have met these people if I weren't for Conti. I'm so sorry. I never would have met these people if it weren't for Mr. Conti. Another example is Miss Gayton. She didn't just give us time to work on our homework or essays. She sat through them with us if we needed help. She heard us out on our concerns and let us feel our feelings and work through them with us. Without her, I don't know if I would have joined choir or drama and become the person you see standing here today. So now I must ask, why take that chance away from future generations in this school? Why don't they deserve the chance to be a different person just because they don't have anyone to push them forward? As a freshman, I see what the juniors and seniors are doing, and I want to help them make that change. So I'm here to tell you that cutting those that you are seems to be the wrong decision. I truly think that if you care for the future of Belvidere High School, I'm so sorry. You will reconsider your decision on who you are cutting. Mr. Conti and Miss Gayton were the first ones that made Belvidere feel more like a home than a school to me. I hope we can keep these teachers that help shape Belvidere in a way that will help the student body, so that the freshmen don't have to say that their first year was the last year of Belvidere, a school they can be proud of. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Melanie from Belvidere High School. I also came from White Township. Everybody's familiar with candles. I don't know where you've been if you don't. Let's get started with the candle idea. The choir would be one that is actually an actual melted candle at this point, and the wax is set fire. And yes, paraffin wax can catch fire at 199 degrees Celsius, which is equivalent to 392.2 degrees Fahrenheit. The reason the choir has been thriving so much and the band has been dying is because of the fact that Conti has put so much time and effort into all of us because he believes in us. Because I struggle a lot with confidence issues and singing and everything, and he's put a lot more confidence into it. One of the days when I came down to work on it, work on the songs for Urinetown, it's he said I was doing a lot better and everything. And it's I have a lot of anxiety coming up here and speaking. And it's a little humor. It's the fact that he actually comes with the ability to hear you. And he actually is he is able to hear us. One of the lyrics that kind of goes well with this is from Les Mis, and it's "Do you hear the people singing the song of angry men?" Because a lot of us are angry and upset about all this. And it's because you're taking away such a really a great teacher that really helps a lot of us. I have a lot more, but it's really hard to discontinue right now.
Hello, my name is Teresina Jankowski. I'm from White Township. And I know you can't answer me right now, but I would like you to please imagine we meet in a different setting and I were to ask you why I should send my children to this high school and not to Belvidere, for example, to Hackettstown, for example. And really, if you were to tell me that with a budget shortfall, which I understand is hard to handle, you chose to cut only teaching staff and no other staff, would not be a very convincing argument for me to send my children here. It's nice that this is a small school, but I hope that you also recognize it is important to give children a choice. When you advertise all the electives on your website, it would be nice to know that those electives will actually be available for incoming students. So I can only support what was said before and encourage you to look at other areas where you can cut costs so that, you know, we're not here again next year with another budget shortfall that seems to catch everybody by surprise. Thank you.
So I'm going to speak on behalf of some of the alumni that have, or one of the alumni that has sent me letters. I'm going to speak on behalf of my older sister, Haley Biasco. My name is Haley Biasco. I was a 2019 Belvidere graduate. Community, tradition, and value. This is what I learned throughout my time at Belvidere High School. I was taught this by none other than the staff that is here. 5 years ago at a board meeting, I spoke about how the teachers are the heart and soul of this school, and the decisions of the board will affect the future of Belvidere. What has started as a change of insurance years ago has now led to multiple positions being cut presently. The same question that I had years ago is the same question that I present to you tonight. What does the future of Belvidere look like? I consider myself fortunate to have gone to a school like Belvidere. Whether it was in the classroom or many other interactions with these teachers, I've learned not only the tools to succeed academically, but how to navigate through life. This could not have been possible without the teachers standing in this room today. Without them, Belvidere is just an average school that's located in a small town. It's embarrassing and extremely disappointing that after 5 years, I not only have to come back here and acknowledge the importance of this staff, but the significant role that each teacher has in the success of this school district. With that being said, the choices of others should not fall on the shoulders of these teachers. It's disheartening and disgusting that this is what has to have it come to. Not only for the staff members facing consequences of poor choices, but a disservice for this school district and a despair to this community. I cannot speak about personal experience with some of the staff because they had come after I had graduated. However, from what I've seen and the impact they've made on my siblings and their peers and their positive attributions to Belvidere is something I appreciated, and it is noted. As for the staff that I was blessed to have throughout my time here, I'm very sorry that the actions of others have impacted your time at Belvidere. While it clearly is not shown enough, the impact you left on me and others will never go without notice. To the entire staff as a whole, thank you for making a difference in the lives of current students and BHS alumni. Most importantly, thank you for instilling the means of value, tradition, and community in this small town. You are the heart of Belvidere School District and the sole reason I am proud to say that I have graduated from Belvidere. To the board, as history seems to repeat itself and the educators here face the repercussions of a budget, if cutting a few teachers helped resolve finances presently, what happens now? What happens when the budget needs to be cut again? Do we cut even more teachers and increase the student-teacher ratio? If that doesn't work, do you cut extracurriculars and sports? No matter the choice or what gets cut, Belvidere will be at an even higher disadvantage among districts around us. The problem won't just be having funds to keep staff, it will soon be the funds and resources to operate a school district. So what happens to the future of Belvidere? Thank you for your time and attention. Haley Biasco, class of 2019.
Hello, Tyler Winter. I spoke last time, and I've been vocal to some of the members about when the questions would be asked. I know we saw the infographics. I'm listening again, and some of the comments that these young people have made. To me, what's lacking is that communication between the board or administration with the staff, with the students, with the community. And I plead to you to not just throw up some random, maybe not random is a bad word, but just to put up some infographics and say, here's where we're at and here's why we're at, but actually take the time. I see you all writing, answer the questions, send out an email, be respectful. We heard your questions. We want to answer them. Do that for these people, so that everybody doesn't have to keep coming back with the same questions and the same pleading. Allow them to know that you do respect what they're saying and that they are being heard. The way you know that they're going to know that they are being heard is if you address them by staying silent. And I get it in the forum. It's probably a safer bet for everybody not to really talk at this moment, but to not address their questions and their concerns and just put up some infographics on some pieced together information that was taken from the meeting is not the way to build a relationship with the community and the school. So I just really hope that these kids, the community, teachers are truly heard, and that you do take that time to let them know that they've been heard. Walk away from the meeting saying, hey, we have a community that is fighting for this school. Why are they fighting for this school? Because we have great teachers. We have a community. This is a small environment and people love it. I love it. My kids love it. We've made great friends. We've had great memories made here. I believe in it. So please let these people and these kids and everybody know that you feel that same way, and be respectful, and just please answer them. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Wilson. I spoke at the last meeting. I am a parent of an elementary student, and I know it's been said several times, but my question is, you guys are cutting these teachers and the budgets, and I know it was brought up by several members at the last meeting. You're looking at the teachers and not the administration. I've been dealing with the administration, the teachers, special education, the child study team all year long. And my son's known throughout the entire school, elementary, middle school, high school. Everybody knows my son. I've had more teachers, one-on-one aides, special education teachers reach out to me to let me know that my son is doing a good job since he's been back in school and how proud they are. But I have yet one time to be reached out by one of the administration staff to let me know how my son is doing. I've called administration staff. I'm still waiting on callbacks 2 months later from the administration staff. Why are you guys getting rid of the teachers that give our children the care they need, the love they need, that care about our children? And we're going to get rid of them instead of looking at the administration that they're just another child in there. They don't, I mean, I've dealt with you guys all year, the administration, this and that, and it would be a comfort as a parent to know that it's just not another child in the school, that you guys actually care individually. Because if I can have high school teachers and gym teachers and music teachers reach out to me about how well my son's doing, and I can't get a call back from the principal or the superintendent, how do you think that makes us feel as parents sending our child here? You have students here telling you you're getting rid of these teachers and they're going to go elsewhere. How is that going to help our budget at all? The tuition, anything. Thank you.
Yep. This will be our last public participation.
Okay. Good evening. Chris M. Coyle, Association President. I would just like to double down on what was just said by a parent, student, and to quote a well-known movie. What we have here is a failure to communicate. There is no back and forth. That I can say as the association president, because I've been in those meetings, that there is no answer given back to me. A week and a half ago, myself, my vice president, Andrew Poyer, met with the board to discuss these issues. We heard what the community said 4 weeks ago. We echoed that. We gave ideas for that. All we've gotten back, communication-wise, was just this. The state has given us $90,000. We're going to save one person. There's been no movement because there is no communication. If there is no communication, how could anything possibly improve? How could a 5-year plan possibly lead us a better direction? The answer is it can't. I want you to think about that. Not because of me being association president, but because of the people that showed up tonight to be heard a second time in the last month. And I'm sure we'll see them again on May 3rd. Thank you.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?